Actually, I think I don't need this mic, right? Can you guys hear me? Okay. How's everyone feeling today? Good. Excited to be here. So I was so excited. I actually don't remember whether I actually came up with this topic or it was suggested to me, but I was so excited when I started to dig in and really build this out. So I'm Sadé Muhammad, Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Impact Officer at Time. I've been with Time for a little over 2 years now. And we had a very specific sort of mandate in coming into the company, the new leadership team. And so I want to walk you through sort of what our approach was with very minimal budget and minimal time to drive revenue. And the biggest thing that we did was lean into culture. So I'm going to talk about that today. Does that sound good? Okay, cool. So what is culture? According to Marcus Collins, who's an incredible marketer and author of For the Culture, culture is the system of behaviors, beliefs, and values that influence the way people live their lives. If you want to change what people do, you have to first change what they believe. So we have this idea that maybe culture is a brand like Nike or, even a brand like Time, but culture can be any number of things depending on sort of where your brand sits, how it interacts with its customers, and how it makes money. So I want to start off by asking you all if you have a Time story. What do I mean by that? So oftentimes when we go and talk to people or we're just out in the world and talking to people about Time, they say that they have a Time story, whether it's, their dad would put the Time magazine on the end table and they would read it growing up. There's sort of this visceral reaction. So we can go to Slido and I would just like, you guys let us know if you have a Time story. And I think you'll be able to actually write it in. So we'll see if this pops up. If not, I'll just call on someone.
How are you defining a Time story?
Any interaction that you've had with the brand, your first memory of it, seeing the magazine with your parents. Some folks said they learned to read English, when they came to this country through reading Time. So does anybody have a Time story? Yes. Buying the 9/11 copy. Wow. Yeah. Person of the year. Absolutely. On cover doing .com one. Early advertising days as a media planner. Okay, so we have some Time in the room. The cover. Seeing it at the doctor's office. Yeah. Parents. That's always a big one. Trump. Okay. Yep. Childhood inspiration. At home, as a kid, images of the Vietnam War. Yep. This is great. Kamala, as an immigrant, that's great. Saw it on the store at the stand. Yeah. In college, okay. The photos are standing out. I love this. So can the person who said buying the 9/11 copy, who was that? Yes, can you share your quick story?
Yeah, I'm Vladimir. I just moved from Bosnia to the U.S. 3 months prior to 9/11. And I just, coming from like one mess and arriving in the U.S. and looking through that and just remember Time magazine, which I've known a little bit about, and really just wanting to have, something to keep. And I know it was quite promoted at the time as well. So that was the first thing that popped in my head. So.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's often our covers that have that sort of resonate the most in folks' minds. Well, I'll do one more. Who said seeing it in the table in our family room? Yes. Could you tell your story?
Yeah, my dad was an avid magazine reader, so we've got 3 Time publications, Time magazine being one of them, and was always sitting there. So even as probably in elementary school and junior high, would just pick up and start to read it and just sort of view into the world in the news.
Yeah. Yeah. So we hear from a lot of folks that their news literacy, just exposure to world news really started with time, which is incredible. Thank you guys. That was fun. Okay, we can go back to the, one participant was typing. I didn't know what they were gonna say. So back to culture. So culture isn't just an intangible concept, it's a business asset that drives revenue, audience engagement, and long-term brand loyalty. And we're gonna talk about how we've done that at Time and why that's the case. And when you think about sort of the visceral reaction, folks talking about moving to the country and seeing the cover and, you know, seeing it on their bedstand or coffee table, those sorts of reactions, that's all part of culture. So I mentioned I came to Time a couple of years ago. So we were charged with essentially making the company profitable. So it was not profitable. So we thought about sort of what are the strengths and challenges for the brand. So strengths, brand recognition, right? Tons of folks said they have not only do they know the brand, they have a story. So that was on our side. Our list, so Time 100, you know, the most influential people, 100 most influential people in the world. We were able to highlight folks on these lists. And so that allows us to maybe build community if we were to expand that. And then just being multi-platform. So everyone knows sort of the cover, and that's our main product. But we also have Time Studios, our film and television division. We have Red Border, our brand content, social, et cetera, et cetera. What were some of the challenges? It is a legacy media brand. Print has been in secular decline and continues to be. As I mentioned, the business was not profitable. And sort of like banner ads and like table stakes, digital media and that ad market was pretty mature at that point. And so it wasn't getting folks excited. And because our site particularly, we didn't have a strong digital site at that time, that's really where we couldn't drive sort of revenue there. So we had to think about, you know, if you think about this cycle, we have the iconic brand, we have the trusted journalism with our lists. Could we build out more of a community, leaning into Time 100, and of course, driving impact? So what have we done since 2022? So we pivoted to a B2B model first. So typically, obviously, the traditional way is to rely on subscriptions as a magazine. That truly was just not working for us. It could for some brands, it wasn't working for us. So we pivoted to B2B to target CMOs, to target folks like you guys and other C-suite who could find you know, the community useful for them. They could meet potential clients. So that was our whole strategy, is this direct sale revenue model that's B2B. And it resulted in 18% increase in revenue. We removed the paywall, which I'll talk about. As you know, the first 3 lines, you can read the first 3 lines of any article. Beyond that, you got to pay up. But one of the things we did in terms of democratizing access and signaling this sort of switch to B2B was to remove the paywall. We launched a brand extensions of Time 100. So we created Time 100 AI, Time 100 Climate, Time 100 Health, and many others, sort of unlocking these premium advertising dollars. Event revenue, so leaned into events and experiential and increased the profit margin, so scaled the events themselves and then made them more profitable. And it's led to you know, over 140% increase year over year in our revenue to date. So what are we gonna cover today? 3 things I want you guys to take away. 1, the business case for cultural-driven advertising. So how authenticity fuels brand trust. 2nd, strategic media platform. So using multi-platform as a strategy is an opportunity to shift from its traditional advertising to sort of experiential engagement. And then purpose-driven community. So how we use and how you can use community to drive these networks for CMOs. So we'll start off with authenticity and consumer trust. So as you guys probably know, today's consumers are skeptical. Trusted media and advertising is at an all-time low. And so we had to figure out, with very little budget, with skepticism, how can we stand out? So, you know, this is a little snapshot of our audience. So, you know, while our print audience is smaller and has been getting smaller, we're able to grow our social footprint. really leaned in on video and digital storytelling. And as you can see, over 30,000 attendees at our events. So like I said, we leaned into some of these communities. So we kind of identified, if we're a marketer, we sort of backed into it. As a marketer who wants to reach sort of what's next, you want to reach folks in AI. And then we, worked with our editorial team to figure out what could be interesting and what kinds of communities would you want to cultivate. So when I talked to marketers when I first came into the job, I said, what do you love about time? What's challenging? And they said, we love time, it's great, but don't know how we would advertise with them because, with you guys, because you kind of talk about everything. So we don't really know what to talk with you specifically about. So we said, okay, we'll create these different communities for you to be able to lean into. So we launched Time 100 AI a couple of years ago, almost 1 billion impressions, so very successful franchise. And what's great about this strategy is that, yes, it's B2B, but on the audience side, we're adding 100 new people every franchise, and we've got one of these every month, essentially, into our cohort every year. And so that's new community members, new fans, new folks who feel not just inspired by the brand, but they feel a part of it. Same thing with Time 100 Climate. So this was another area where we were strong editorially. Our senior climate correspondent won Climate Journalist of the Year. And then we hired Shaila Raghav, who helped write the Paris Agreement as our chief climate officer, and she's also actually on the business side. So we were able to put together this incredible global platform on climate. And so we activated COP, we've got Climate Leadership Forum, we do the Earth Awards, we have Time 100 Climate. So there's all of these touch points where folks can feel, whether it's they're an indigenous community, whether you're an executive running, whether you're a celebrity and passionate about climate, all of these folks can sort of coexist in the same room. And perfect example, if you'll see up there, that's Halle Berry next to the chief scientific officer and medical officer at Eli Lilly, who sponsored this event, who you might think, well, what are they doing next to each other? But this is exactly the kind of magic that happens at a Time event, where you can put together a celebrity who's talking about her medical journey and the folks who are doing the research and the work. So we leaned into experiential because we figured out that community was really the opportunity to build culture when, what most people remembered and know about Time was a print cover, a static cover. So for us, it was about bringing it to life. And that meant engaging new folks who hadn't been a part of the brand previously and making them feel like they had a stake and say in the game. So back to our paywall. So this is our CEO, Jess Sibley. So in our centennial year, like I said, we decided to move the paywall to really focus on our digital transformation, which we wanted to sort of note that we were focusing on, and to democratize access. This also worked strategically because, as I said, we were shifting from B2C to B2B, so we weren't prioritizing subscriptions, and we also could talk about sort of the digital divide and making trusted journalism free for every reader around the world. So that was our, strategic plan, and we partnered with Verizon on this as they do a lot of work in the digital divide. So that was our way to work with a customer B2B, have something in market and talking about how we're bridging the digital divide, and also making it actually free to access for anyone who wanted to experience Time. So results of all of that, Time readers are 2.5 times more likely to engage with brand content than standard digital audiences. And advertisers saw a 43% lift in brand favorability after aligning with our content. So next, let's talk about strategic media platforms and how we created those sponsorship opportunities. Did anyone see this cover when Taylor was Person of the Year? That was our, I think, best cover in like maybe a decade. Very, very popular. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about how we shifted from traditional advertising to, again, experiential. As you guys probably know, traditional ad models are evolving, and CMOs have to invest in high-value, immersive brand storytelling. So it's not just banner ads and digital, and even creators. it has to expand beyond that, be with your customers in real life, and tell a cohesive story. So that's what we did. When we came to Time a couple years ago, we were doing maybe about 6 events. We scaled that to over 30. So lots. And all of our events are actually, besides one, are invite only. Most have no more than 150 people, but we do this around the world: Dubai, Martha's Vineyard, Singapore, you name it. And again, this was kind of our strategy, is to get out into the world and get the people who are doing the work and most excited about it to Time. But we don't just have events. As you all know, events we made them profitable, but they're not the most profitable thing. So we have other franchises. I'm going to talk about 2 today: Red Border and Time Studios. So Red Border is our branded content platform. So when you think about Time, again, beyond the cover, we do all of these things. So a lot of partners come to us wanting to tell a story, and we're able to do that, whether it's through podcasting, through design, through AR, VR. So we have this full suite. We won. Digiday gave us Content Studio of the Year last year. So we were really able to build out an expansive platform for storytelling. What's great about that is we also created Time Studios a few years ago. So if you have seen Kanye's documentary, he's very polarizing, but genius, that we did that. Frida, Meg Thee Stallion, a number of documentaries we're behind, but you don't know, but we produced them. And so now what we did was we made the folks who produced the Time Studios docs part of Red Border, so now those folks are producing our branded content as well. What we found was that branded content generates 3 times higher engagement than traditional display ads, and our content integrations drove 60% increase in brand recall. So it was making a difference outside of, again, standard engagement that's sort of easier to maybe sell or manage. And lastly, before I go to questions, community. So this was probably our biggest aha, is unlocking community. Again, with minimal budget and minimal time, how do we engage new customers? I really believe the future of brand engagement is community building. And we did that in an interesting way, I think. So we've got, Christian was talking about sort of leaning into diverse audiences. We do the same thing. They tell us they spend a lot of time with our content. They're affluent, they're engaged, and they expect time to bring them this sort of content. Some of our stats. And then decision makers. So again, we needed to, if we weren't going to win on the subscription game, which we were losing on, we had to engage these decision makers, folks like you, and the biggest brands out there and their C-suite, and get them excited about going to Cannes with us, get them excited about Time 100, and we've been able to do that. So the first example of this sort of identity-focused community building strategy was Women of the Year. I would love someone to guess. So Person of the Year was Man of the Year for a while. Can anyone guess what year they think it changed from Man of the Year to Person of the Year? Just throw it out there.
86. 82. 2017.
Oh no, 2017. That's so bad. Okay, so then this isn't as bad. 1999, which I still think is terrible. Again, founded in 1923. Man of the Year until 1999. Crazy. So one of the things our editorial team did was they went back and said, okay, if it were to be a Women of the Year, if that were a thing, if they were eligible, who would the Woman of the Year be? Going back to 1923. And a brand, P&G, saw this editorial feature and was like, oh, we want to make an event out of this. And so now it's in its 5th year. It's Women of the Year. So we recognize, this is last year's cohort. We recognize about 12 women each year. Nicole Kidman, Asia Wilson, those are some of the folks from this year. But we've got this new franchise that is highly successful for us and sort of cemented this identity-focused strategy that it works. So next we went to Martha's Vineyard, which has been known in August to traditionally be a place where wealthy Black families are able to convene. And so we said, okay, it'd be interesting to look at how do we create a community around underfunded entrepreneurs, specifically Black and brown founders, outside of this one-time cash infusion. So we partnered with UBS, which is a Swiss bank, so we're in Martha's Vineyard, but they wanted to reach more of a US audience. And so we were able to partner with them because they wanted to bring their financial advisors on and have them invite them to something cool, their clients to something cool, and they wanted to have sort of new potential clients. So again, this is an example of an event, not as a B2C sort of experience, but a performance marketing event, which makes sense for a community like this, which was new for Time. And so what they told us was that they were able to convert a new client as a result of this, and they have clients in the B's, billion with a B. So can't relate, but very cool. And what came out of that was a new franchise for Time called The Closers. The Impact House was sort of a 3-day event in the summertime, relaxed, but we did some great work. And we started continuing those conversations, and The Closers, which launched last year, focuses on leaders who are closing the racial wealth gap. And so as a result of sort of the community, real genuine community building that happened at Impact House, we were able to create this list now in its 2nd year, which was very successful. We, 5x the investment, 70% profit margin, all in across digital, across event. So an example of another tentpole that had some success. And then lastly, Time AI. So we built out Time AI last year. We're actually in partnership with folks like Scale AI, OpenAI, 11 Labs. And the idea here is that, sort of media lost out in the digital and social revolution. How can we be a part of the AI revolution? As we know, information is what feeds these large language models like ChatGPT. So we're in partnership with them to sort of hopefully benefit from the scale and the opportunity that's available with AI. So before I get to questions, what we covered: authenticity builds trust, and trust drives revenue. Strategic sponsorships and branding content deliver high ROI in terms of the sponsorships and engagement. And I think most importantly, purpose-driven business communities position brands at the center of cultural influence. They get people excited, and they really make folks run to attend our events and to be part of our community. And I'll leave you with this: the most successful brands don't just advertise, they shape culture. Thank you.
Like this video? We've got loads more on demand. To access all previous event recordings, become a member. When you join, you'll also get access to more resources, templates, and inspiration from other marketing leaders and CMOs. If you do want to catch us live, though, why not join us at our next event? Simply head to the link in the description to see where we're headed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.